Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Software Engineer K here, and I'm going to be going through a very detailed, if not probably my most detailed video I've ever made, and that is why I've made the decision to sell about 95-96% of my VeVe collectibles collection. And this was a video I was quite hesitant on making, mainly because there are points covered in this video which I don't really talk about publicly, mainly because I know what a lot of people out there are like. They like taking things out of context in order to make either VeVe, the project, look bad, or they'll try and use it to make individuals look bad. So I'm going to be as objectively as possible, just covering a lot of these points. And I will stress multiple times, do not copy what I do. I've been in this for a while. I've done what I'm about to show you about 3 times. 2 of those times I won. But I'm going to be showing you guys the one time I lost, because it is quite a funny story. And again, like I said, a lot of these points are points I don't cover, and many of these points people won't quite, probably not understand on face value. So again, I'm also going through the highly bullish case scenario for VeVe, and also just dispelling a few kind of FUD points around VeVe, just because I know people out there like to throw around, random comments with no context. And as always, I do try and be as transparent as possible with you guys, so I'll also be showing you guys my wallet, including my VeVe account and my crypto account as well, just for context. So without further ado, we'll go straight into it. So as of right now, I am currently sat on about 43,000 gems, just over 43,000. So just for context, I have put in about $15,000 into VeVe in total. Most of those gems were bought from the actual app. So I would say if I were to sell everything, so I'll go through actually what I've got left as well, but if I were to sell everything, I would have over $45,000 pretty easily. So that's like a 3x, a little bit less than that after you account for the 10% cash out fees if I were to kind of completely cash out. So that's where I'm sat at right now. And now if I go to my collectibles, where's my collection? Okay, here we go. Yeah, so out of that, I have 36 collectibles. I've got 3 mermaid corner unicornos and 33 Donald Ducks, because Donald Duck is the best. I said, in my opinion, Donald Duck was one of the most, I would say, I don't want to say undervalued, because everyone says, oh, undervalued, but it was one of my favorite collectibles, and it still is one of my favorite collectibles. So it's one of the ones that I didn't want to sell until the very end. I had about 115 sets, something like that, and now I have well, I'm down to technically 0, but like 90% of the collectibles I still own are the Donald Ducks. So yeah, I will probably still actually, even at the end, I'll probably hold maybe like 10 to 15 of them, just because there is, I tend not to sell everything completely, but it is what it is. I am currently gonna try and aim for about 45,000 gems, and the reason why I decided to liquidate were multiple reasons. So I'm gonna show you guys the play that I made, but I'm gonna be showing you guys the one time that I lost, just because I don't think there's too much value showing you guys oh yeah, this is how much I made this time when I did this, because it's a highly risky play and I don't advise anyone doing this. So yeah, the one time where I did lost was basically, the concept I want to tell you guys is opportunity cost, right? Okay, one side of the coin is you don't want to buy high and sell low, and that's what it looks like I'm doing here. But then sometimes it makes sense to buy high and sell low, and that is when opportunity cost comes into play, because buying something high and selling it low is fine, and it can work out if there is something else that started high and it also dropped to low, but the thing you want to buy, it has dropped way lower than the thing that you currently have, and sometimes it makes sense to do that. And I'll show you guys an example of where I actually tried to do that, but it didn't work out. So I kind of caught OMI around about this kind of mid to late March point. So I actually started buying in around February, but what I did was, around about this 28th March time, where OMI had dipped a lot, it came down to around about this like 0.9, 0.8 cent region, and like that is relatively high compared to where it is now. But I bought around about here, and it pumped a little bit up to here to nearly 1 cent again, and I was like, okay, that play worked out. I bought OMI there, But, you know, it kind of came all the way back down to like this kind of 0.1 region. But what did I sell in order to buy that OMI? Because at the time, I sold something in order to buy into that OMI because I was thinking OMI was going to go to the moon, you know, Alfred Khan, Pokemon rumors, etc., etc. Well, I was a very big XRP trader, and this is what I had done. So I was buying XRP, you know, around about the lows here because of the XRP lawsuit. And I did a bit of a trade here, so, you know, I was kind of averaging XRP at you know, the 28-cent region, and I caught this really, really big hype candle because this was one of those periods where everyone was going to say, you know, buy XRP, hold it, up only, going to the moon, etc. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a 2x, so I kind of bought in around about this kind of 0.28, 0.3 range, and I sold around about 0.6. You know, it went a bit higher than that, 0.73, and then it came all the way down. And then I bought up XRP back in again. And then I rode it up here and, you know, I sold again. And I was holding the XRP, you know, I was feeling bullish, but I was like, you know what, I caught two good pumps. And around about this 28th of March region, 28th of March, I sold all my XRP to buy into OMI. And that, you know, the month following after, OMI tanked heavily. But what did I miss? Because I sold XRP around about this 28th of March region, I missed this whole huge ass pump that happened, and yeah, that was pretty bad. So I kind of sold XRP around about, you know, like 0.4, well, that's what that $0.4, about 40 cents, and I missed it go all the way up to nearly $2. So could have made a 5x, but, you know, I still made profit, can't complain. But I kind of literally just a week before I sold it, it decided to just have this huge rally, and now it's come back down to, you know, similar prices to what I sold at. So yeah, I missed out on that, and that's what could happen with VeVe, because I've sold a lot of stuff. It could go straight to the moon, you know, tomorrow, next week, next month, etc. However, this is where the opportunity cost comes in. So I'm going to be breaking down for you guys why I believe, you know, the crypto, or, you know, other areas which I can utilize this liquidity, may be a better opportunity for myself. Don't copy me again. Like I said, I'm sharing with you guys why this strategy can fail, just so you guys understand, you know, what can go wrong. And again, I know my risk tolerance. I know, you know, like how much I am willing to lose. Well, technically I can't really lose because like I showed you guys, I'm already in profit, so you know, it doesn't matter. But you know, you should know your own risk tolerance and, you know, do your own research as usual. But again, I'm going to stress that multiple times throughout this video. Now, I have made this point quite clear. I am quite bearish on the macro, and, you know, there are a lot of articles out there, a lot of research from people claiming otherwise, that the markets are going to be fine this year, you know, no issue. However, you know, inflation has been extremely high. And typically, you know, this is a pretty summative article that I, you know, have read before, not by this you know, this author, but I've seen this kind of thing before. And typically, when you have runaway inflation, you want to increase rates, you know, to kind of be in line with that level of inflation over time. However, right now, the rate increases that we've seen have not really been in line with the level of inflation that we've seen. And so as you increase rates, we know what happens. You know, people, maybe homeowners, their mortgages go up, and that causes a stress on their disposable income. Typically, you know, raising interest rates, that does trickle down to consumers. You know, people become, you know, cash strapped, and that's kind of like the run on for a recession. Now, good news is, you know, typically a lot of indicators for economic recession have been actually positive. So this, a lot of people kind of feel, is a very different type of recession that we're going to have. And we have had the 2 negative quarters of GDP growth. However, unemployment levels look actually surprisingly good. Well, not good, but, you know, not terrible. So what some, you know, economists believe is that's because the worst hasn't happened yet. You know, the economy needs to suffer first before things become better. We need more rate increases in order to, you know, help the economy recover, for that inflation to be curbed. So we actually haven't seen the bottom of the market yet. That's what some people are predicting. And, you know, for me personally, again, this is my belief. Other people will say otherwise. So again, don't take what I say as, you know, at face value. Again, do your own research, but this is just my opinion. Is, you know, I've seen, and over my time I've seen this happen multiple times, is, you know, a lot of the times certain politicians will say everything is fine, and, you know, we know there are indicators out there to suggest otherwise. It's been very interesting to see, you know, the definition of a recession changed about 22 times on Wikipedia. At the same time Joe Biden announced that, you know, the economy was fine, but, you know, they announced 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, but they changed the definition for it to not mean, you know, an indication of a recession. I believe that the macro is going to get worse, and that, you know, why does that tie into with VeVe? Again, VeVe is not immune to macro effects, and so I believe the market, not just VeVe, but everything should come down, and so I want to stay a bit more liquid to take advantage of certain opportunities. I'm going to go through those opportunities with you, just kind of things that I'm looking at. But again, you know, it's not just the overall market. I believe there are other factors that will affect it. You know, look into what's happening with MBSs in China. Again, I don't want to spend too much time making this as, you know, kind of like my opinion on the economy video, but, you know, long story short, there has been a lot of lending for mortgages to build houses which have not been built. People are not paying their loans. You know, banks are going to have to liquidate certain assets. A lot of these Chinese banks hold US securities. You know, if you have banks liquidating US securities, that can, you know, trigger a bit of an economic issue. You know, have a read into it yourself. I'm not going to spend too much time going into it, but again, it is what it is. Now, what kind of things will help VeVe? You know, there have been a couple of things, specifically OUP and MCP, so OMI Utility Program and the Master Collector Program. That is what's going to help VeVe, you know, kind of really push ahead for things to pump. In my opinion, I believe that's what should happen. I don't see why, you know, providing more liquidity through crypto via the OUP would not help the VeVe market, because right now it is quite difficult to get liquidity into the market. And, you know, a lot of people do hold OMI. You can't get that OMI into the app very easily. Well, you can't actually. You know, maybe if you sell the OMI, get fiat, then send it in. You know, that's just annoying. So which one of these do I believe is going to come first? I believe the OUP is going to come first. So with the OUP, we know that that is actually going to help OMI as well. The price of OMI, I believe, is going to surge because the team has said they actually have a lot of exchange listings lined up. David Yu has said himself he knows which exchanges we want, but they have decided not to list yet. And the reason for that is they want to do OUP first and then roll out the exchange listings, because they don't want the token to pump and dump. They want people to have a reason to buy and hold the token. So why is that a good thing? Well, you know, Ray Fixie, he kind of said it's, you know, a bit annoying to get liquidity, especially if you're going for these one-of-ones. How are you going to get, you know, like 50,000, 40,000 gems into the app unless you know, you kind of do it in increments? Well, David Yu himself said, we hear you on getting crypto into the app. First part of OUP, OMI to NFT, that is a priority for next quarter. So I believe they are going to prioritize that over MCP, because the MCP is mostly more of a benefit for the secondary market, and VeVe as a company, it only makes sense for them to prioritize, you know, liquidity in the app, as opposed to things that are kind of cool for collectors. Again, they do value collectors, but as a priority, liquidity in the app is extremely important, because as you guys can see, I don't need to explain why liquidity in the app is important. The collectors, you know, a lot of them, I won't say, you know, who, but you guys can kind of feel in the community, feel a bit, you know, discouraged about collecting. You know, they feel like they're holding and the value of their vote is going down. Yeah, sure, some people don't mind, you know, like they don't really care about the value of the vote. It's all about, you know, pure collecting. But most people, it's a bit of a mixture. Like, yeah, collecting is, you know, great, but people do also care about the vote valuations. And so liquidity in the app is an important key aspect of that. Bringing OMI into the app to use, that's going to be fantastic. Now, OMI is not just one thing that, you know, I would like to pick up with the liquidity whilst the market is coming down, because again, I am going to be buying more OMI, as I have said, with a bit of a market downturn. What else am I looking at? You know, there are other opportunities. IMX is something I'm extremely bullish on. I'm just going to be very briefly touching on some of these. So IMX, you know, it peaked around about here at $4.2. Actually, ICO'd for higher than that. I can't remember. I recall a $10 figure. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know, right now it's at about 80 cents. You know, that's a easy 5x from there. If it comes back to around about this region, which I am very confident it can surpass. Now, the other one I'm very bullish on is, as you guys know, Illuvium. You know, I've done some AMAs with their community. I was brought on by Illuvium on the Twitter to discuss, technology and development in the Web3 space. Illuvium, as you can see, it peaked at $2,868. Right now, it is at $92. Now, I could, buy Illuvium here if it does like a 30x. Okay, I don't think, in my opinion, let's say Wolt, okay, the Wolt statue, if that did a 30x right now, that thing would be over $120,000, and that's not even including the extra gems it needs to be to cover the nearly 20% fees, because the 8.5% fee to sell it, and then another 10% to cash out. That's nearly 20%. Add up another 20% to $120,000. You're looking at what is that, like $144,000, I think. Do I think Wolt is going to get to $144,000? Maybe in a very, very long time. That doesn't mean I'm bearish on Wolt passing the value that's at right now, but I'm trying to be realistic. I realistically struggle to see Wolt hitting such a high valuation, right? It peaked in January at like, I think $45,000, the peak it sold at. Even now, I think it will be very difficult for it to get back to that value. However, let's say realistically, maybe Wolt does a 5x to $20,000. Again, it has to go higher than that to cover the fees associated with it. It has to go to like close to like $25,000, $26,000. But do I think Wolt is going to get to $26,000 before Illuvium can get to $500? Probably, in my opinion, I think the crypto market will recover before that can happen. Because for Wolt to do that, we need a lot of these things in place for the app. Like OUP needs to be working, MCP needs to be working. We need a lot more users in the app in order to maintain those even reach those valuations firstly. So you guys can kind of see where my logic starts to build in. This is where the opportunity cost comes in. Now, why do I believe that it's going to take VeVe longer to implement the app, all of those features, as opposed to the time it will take for the crypto market to recover? I believe the crypto market is going to have a bit more of a uptrend before VeVe can implement all those things, and that's for a few reasons, right? So again, I'm gonna emphasize, don't take this stuff out of context as FUD towards the company, because this is back from when they were a startup. They still are technically a startup, and I understand some of the issues they go through, but they have had to reprioritize a lot of things. But just going straight to the start of the journey, right? Now, back in 2019 Q1, that was when they wanted to launch the beta app. People were kind of fudding the project around about this period. There were some people saying it wasn't going to happen, but they did launch the app. So again, this is bullish. They do deliver. I'm going to emphasize this. VeVe does deliver on the things they say they're going to deliver, but their estimates aren't, historically have shown their estimates haven't been great, right? More times I would say they've been off on their estimates than, on point. And that's, that's a working, that's something that they were actively working on, right? And I'm not going to fault them for that, because estimating these kind of huge deliverables is very, very difficult. Even seasoned companies do that. Look at Tesla. They were way off on their estimate of delivering the Cybertruck. That thing's been delayed forever. It happens, right? But just for context, they were supposed to deliver the app in Q1 2019. They did it in 2020, around about October time, September time, I believe, somewhere around there. And you can see, they did the app sales. They were supposed to do it in Q2. Yeah, they kind of did it around about October time. Q3, yeah, they released V2 of the app. They were supposed to release it in Q3 of 2019. They actually end up releasing V2, which I assume is the non-beta version of the app, kind of middle of last year. And if you look at the Q4, this is what they were supposed to release in Q4 of 2019. Customizations, I assume that means accessories and customizing your collectibles. In-app gamification, I assume that means MCP, not rolled out yet, and it's 2022 now. Third-party integrations, I believe this is kind of more alluding to stuff I think they were working on with third parties like OpenSea, but again, their priorities have changed to their to their benefit. they did release other stuff that is not mentioned here. They rolled out the web app, which is great, that they rolled that out. Again, there are some issues with the web app, but again, it's a work in progress. You know, they rolled out KYC with cash out. That was something that wasn't on their roadmap, but again, that was because to do with compliance changes. So again, they have been adapting. So they've had to change their roadmap. And again, this is something that I want to point out is although OMI to NFT is a priority, other things can actually come in and impede that. You know, regulations are changing. And I know that OMI to NFT, you know, it is a difficult process. So, you know, they do need some infrastructure there first to roll it out, right? Ideally, they need IMX to kind of help with the metadata side as well. That again is another priority because, you know, for OMI to NFT, people need to, you know, get OMI into the app. Again, there is a bit of a compliance issue, I assume, you know, associated with their current cash out provider. They do need to do a lot more auditing on that side. Again, that requires more dev effort, and you know, dev effort is something I do want to touch on. So a lot of their kind of things that they have been working on, let me just pull out something. So yeah, they're supposed to work in an iterative manner. Now, what do I mean by that is they're supposed to be rolling out features, you know, a bit at a time. And, you know, that's just how they work. Dan himself has said, you know, they work in an agile way, not in a waterfall way. So some people assume that they're probably working on some big thing in the background that they're just going to, you know, surprise us with. I don't think that's the case, which is why, you know, I believe that we're probably going to see, you know, a turn in the crypto market before they roll out, you know, the things that are going to make the VeVe stuff pump, like MCP and, you know, whatever else. And, you know, if we look at, you know, some of the team members, we can see that they actually work in agile. So one of their automation consultants, certified agile practitioner, and I believe somewhere they also actually have an agile consultant. Here we go, Akash, you know, he is a agile consultant, again associated with Ecomi in some capacity. So, you know, it's safe to assume that they're not, you know, working on some secret thing that they're going to release in one go, because that is a waterfall method. They don't seem to operate in that way, and I don't think it's, you know, any modern company it makes sense to do that way. Agile is typically how I believe Ecomi is operating, VeVe Ecomi. So yeah, I believe what they have probably been struggling with is the effect of the developer market, which has probably been slowing down their growth. And now this is the part where a lot of people, again, I don't want to take this out of context, but if we have a look at their app notes as a way to gauge their, let's say, output velocity of features, right? So they had actually been making some pretty good progress from, you know, around about November to, I would say, February. They were rolling out a lot of stuff, and, you know, everything was looking quite positive around that period. Again, things, you know, were still looking positive, but if we just have a look at the app notes, right? So, you know, from March 7, you know, they did, you know, some performance updates, you know, stability, you know, bug fixes, etc. And then they rolled out, you know, like the kind of comic carousel updates, you know, 3D, you know, AR comics there, which is great stuff. And then the update after that, it looks like they just copied and pasted it. It's the same stuff. So I don't know. I think assume that was mainly bug fixes, optimizations. March 16th, again, they kind of copied and pasted the same thing. I don't know why they did that, but, you know, I assume it's probably just, you know, general app optimizations. And then, you know, end of March, they kind of added the estimated valuations, which was great. You know, there was a great kind of front end optimization that they have. And then they did, you know, some under the hood UI performance updates, optimizations, and then again, some more performance improvements, bug fixes, and then again in April, performance improvements and bug fixes, and then again in May, performance and stability improvements and AR related bug fixes. You can kind of see where I'm going with this, right? A lot of their stuff, you know, since March has been mainly bug fixing, and this is, you know, to me as a developer myself, you know, I understand this, right? It's annoying for them because the bug fixes are important, but the fact that these bugs have been introduced, that to me implies that maybe, you know, they need to work on their testing pipeline. You know, they've had to do some kind of backend refactoring. There are some issues, right? So the other major update it had was the KYC, and as we know, they currently have technical difficulties associated with the cash out, and we know that the KYC has had some difficulties, right? You know, the kind of third party they went with, they have issues actually. You know, there have been reports about fake KYC and all that stuff. I won't go into the details, but again, we can, you know, attribute that to probably some more bug fixing. That's you know, VeVe's gonna have to do on their end, and also the vendor as well for the KYC and cash out. So, you know, I believe there will be some more kind of continuous app bug fixing improvements involved before they can add in more features, which I think is gonna affect their timeline, because historically what I can see is I don't think this is gonna improve. And the other issue is, until I see all of these vacancies filled, as in I don't see these advertisements anymore, I'm going to assume they're going to continue to have some issues with how quickly they can develop things, right? They need a lead front-end engineer. That's actually a very big role. They need a security engineer, which was posted 3 months ago. So I can understand why they have some you know, bugs and, you know, those kind of related issues. And a senior backend engineer, just posted a month ago. So, you know, I can see that they do need to scale up their dev team. Until these are kind of filled, I believe we are going to struggle to see, you know, the volume of updates that we want. Because as you guys can see from the patch notes, we haven't been seeing as many updates. And I believe that trend, judging by the data, is why I believe the overall market is going to probably recover before the stuff that's going to pump the VeVe market is put into place. Again, I could be wrong. They could, you know, massively scale and, you know, implement all the things we want implemented. I'm just using the historical data. So again, don't copy me. This is just kind of what I'm basing my, you know, my decisions off of. Again, I'm going to say VeVe does deliver. We've shown it historically, they deliver. It's just I am gambling on them delivering all the stuff that's going to benefit VeVe after the overall crypto market kind of recovers. And that is where the opportunity cost is for me. So again, don't copy me based off of that. That's what I'm doing. Now, there, obviously, that being said, I would say overall, even though I have sold a lot of stuff, some people might want to spin it as, you know, if someone sells something, they're instantly, you know, bearish on it, fudding, etc. You know, again, this is something that I don't really talk about because I think people probably take it out of context. But, you know, here you go. I am actually extremely bullish on the project, and I'll actually share with you guys some examples. So, you know, regularly, you know, this was actually posted like 5 days ago. You know, I regularly meet with one of Ecomi's shareholders and advisors to discuss growth and strategy with VeVe. And, you know, I have actually, you know, have a meeting arranged with David and Reese in the next less than 2 weeks actually, you know, just to forward on some, let's say, some suggestions, right? Because the community is constantly kind of putting suggestions out there. There are some things that I can see from, you know, my experience having, you know, worked with multiple startups in the tech industry, with what can really help them through this kind of growth phase. There has also been, you know, a lot of stuff that I've provided to Venkatesh, which he has actually forwarded directly to David. There's a lot of stuff that I have discussed with Reese, which, you know, we may see, you know, end of this quarter actually, you know, so watch out for that OUP version 3. I made a video a while back, and I will reshare that video when the OUP version 3 article comes out, if what I believe is in there, just so you guys can kind of see, you know, some of the stuff that, you know, suggestions and ideas that, you know, we talk about. So, you know, I'm just gonna say, if I was truly bearish, fudding, whatever you, some people might want to spin my selling as, I don't think, you know, David and Reese would be wanting to have some grilled chicken with me. You know, it is what it is. And, you know, other things which I don't talk about because people take it out of context all the time is, you know, I started doing like free QA for, you know, the app. I've, you know, discussed and explained various different things along with a few other developers in the community. There is actually like a small community of us that do a lot of kind of like free QA for VeVe as users, just to kind of, you know, protect the users on the app, protect, you know, the integrity of the platform. Omi the Clown is one of them. Dan Kern, he's also another one. There is a community of us, right? And, you know, as an example, you know, I started back in early April. This was kind of like where I started talking with Dan Crovers, you know, Reese and stuff. So, you know, this was something that I identified where they were kind of sending unhandled backend exceptions to the front end of the app. This was, you know, as you know, this is computationally a very expensive action to perform. You know, sending unhandled exceptions. Typically, you're supposed to, you know, have a try catch and send like a nice user-friendly message, as you guys, you know, probably are used to, not, you know, sending these JSON passing token errors. And the annoying thing is this is actually very difficult to pick up in testing because the app is still going to work as you'd expect it. What typically happens is just, you know, this huge performance issue for the user. You know, you're buying something and you don't actually know you've bought it, but also, you know, as a cost basis, because, you know, this uses a lot of resources on, you know, their hosted web instances, it costs them a lot of money. You know, they're going to be losing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, you know, I kind of discussed this way back in April with, you know, as you guys can see here, I discussed with Dan Crovers. I spoke to him a bit more about this. You know, I told him, you know, I'm not sure how to reach you guys because this was kind of like my first time kind of trying to contact them. Your app has unhandled backend exceptions, and then I did a whole video explaining, you know, back in April 10th 2021 how this worked. And I've continued to do that. You know, there have been multiple different things that myself, Omi the Clown, a few other people have spotted. I'm not going to discuss, you know, every single thing, but, you know, people will take it out of context and, you know, use it as a way to fund the platform. But the team has, you know, been very, you know, cooperative to work with. You know, they handle these things, and that's why I'm bullish on the platform. Is, you know, they don't ignore these things. They are, you know, on top of it. Maybe from a user perspective, when it comes to basic, you know, customer support stuff, yeah, you know, you might have to wait, but for the really important stuff, you know, they typically see it straight away. You know, Brock's also been, you know, great help on that side. So, you know, they do fix their stuff. And, you know, another thing that I kind of discussed, again, very vaguely, is, you know, I spent, you know, a whole trip in Singapore, you know, educating people at the Crypto Expo on the OMI token. I would not do that if I was not, you know, heavily kind of, you know, involved and enthusiastic about the project, you know, bullish on the project, etc. And I actually, you know, I went for a whole bull case scenario for VeVe, you know, with the lack of kind of engagement and awareness in Asia, which is, I believe, is going to be the biggest market for collectibles. And David Yu himself has gone out and stated that that is their next target geography. So again, that I believe they're not going to do yet. I believe the app needs more kind of functionality before they do that, and I just went through a whole, you know, dialogue about why that functionality is going to take a while to be implemented. So I am confident that they're probably not going to be doing this anytime very soon, but 100% they are going to be doing it. Like, why would they not market to the biggest market for this application? It does not make sense. So yeah, as you guys can see, huge bull case scenario for VeVe. Me selling does not mean I don't believe, and a lot of people who do sell, they sell for their own reasons. I believe some people maybe just sold because, you know, maybe they have some financial difficulties. Other people have probably sold, you know, for other opportunity costs that they're looking at. And I don't doubt that some people have just sold because maybe they're bored of the project, you know, whatever. I don't sell shame people, and I don't encourage it because, again, this is actually, you know, I don't see why people should not be allowed to sell because it's part of ownership. I think a lot of people forget that, you know, although there's many people champion Web3 as, hey, you know, we have NFTs, you can do whatever you want with them, you know, etc., etc. Well, being able to sell something is part of, you know, doing whatever you want with it. So, you know, if people want to sell, if people want to buy, if people want to trade, whatever, you know, go do whatever you want to do. I don't really care. You know, But again, like I said, I don't encourage people to copy what I'm doing. You should be doing your own thing. Again, if you want to kind of do your own research based off of what I said, that's up to you. And I encourage talking to other people. And like I said, I showed you guys one of the times where I did fail. You can see, you know, I took a risk and I failed, but, you know, although that one time I did lose, like I said, there were 2 other times where I won, but, you know, overall, if I just held, I think I probably would have been in a more or less break even, maybe slightly better position. So again, I do believe in the long term, you know, they will deliver. There is a very, very heavy bullish case scenario for VeVe, and if you want to hold through the bottom and then, you know, just continue holding to the top, we've seen it happen multiple times. You know, Bitcoin's done it, other projects have done it before. Okay, Bitcoin, you know, it's an example everyone uses, but you know, other ones I've seen do it. You know, Cardano, I actually bought Cardano on ICO and sold it very early, so I could have actually, you know, made a lot more off it, but, you know, profit is profit, like I said. Yeah. Axie Infinity, that one kind of went up and down and then popped off. So I believe OMI and VeVe will probably do the same, just because they've got a very, very good place in the market. So yeah, my play is to leverage some opportunity cost, because I believe I can probably get back into the VeVe market, as I said. And, you know, just to wrap up, as you guys can see, I have nearly 42. Oh, okay, the price has changed. I've got nearly 42 million OMI tokens. My other play is if they can enable crypto cash out, because, you know, it is a bit annoying cashing out to cash and then getting it back in, because I have to pay all the fees and do, you know, more kind of, you know, like nonsense with my bank, because they ask these questions when I, you know, cash out a lot, and I just can't be asked, like, kind of dealing with them. I'd rather just self-report, you know, at the end of the year, rather than having to deal with my bank, because they tend to, you know, disable a lot of my transactions, because they don't deal with Binance anymore. But, you know, that's another story. What I will say is, if OMI gets to 0.1 cents and I've got, you know, the 45,000 gems, you know, I will add a bit more. I'm going to try and get to 100 million OMI, which I thought would never be possible. And, you know, that would get me, you know, that $1 million at 1 cent. And I think OMI is going to surpass that for sure. With the OUP and the exchanges, etc. I think OMI can definitely touch that 2 cent, assuming everything else, you know, in the macro is okay. You know, it's not too, you know, too bearish. But even if that doesn't happen, I think, you know, there is a very strong case for OMI to at least hit that 1 cent mark. You know, we saw 0.8 cents with no good exchanges back in, you know, back when everything else was, you know, fairly bullish, but there was, you know, literally no reason to even have OMI. You know, it did nothing, there were no exchanges, but it still got to, you know, nearly 1 cent again. So, you know, very, very bullish. And again, I'm holding my arm up just so you guys can hear me, because my bird does make these sounds. So yeah, very long video, covered a lot of stuff there, but yeah, I hope you guys found this informative. Yeah, sorry, I was just checking it. Yeah, so I hope you guys found this informative. Please like and subscribe for content. I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.